This video will introduce you to some of the structures of the lymphatic system. Now, on this smaller muscle torso, we can see that there are some structures that are colored green. Green can indicate lymphatic system. So what I want to point out is that here in the groin, right, we can see these little green bumps. Okay, these little green bumps are actually representing the lymph nodes. And we can see that there's a concentration of lymph nodes in the groin area here, as well as along the aorta and inferior vena cava. We can also see some more of these lymph nodes up here by the superior vena cava and the brachiocephalic trunks. Okay. Connecting these lymph nodes, on this model, it looks like little strings, and what these are lymphatic vessels, milking the lymph fluid up from the extremities, filtering that lymph through the lymph nodes themselves, right? Remember, the lymph nodes are essentially loose reticular connective tissue populated with a series of white blood cells that are patrolling the lymph as it goes through and essentially looking for anything that doesn't quite belong. Right? Any pathogens, any broken down old cells are dealt with here. Okay. We can also see in this model this purple organ over here. So this is a kidney, an adrenal gland, but over here, right behind the stomach, or right to the left of the stomach, is the spleen. And the spleen has lymphatic function, right? So it's also populated with white blood cells that are essentially patrolling the lymph, but also the spleen contains what's called red pulp, and this shares responsibility for breaking down worn out red blood cells. Okay. The last lymphatic structures that I want to show you today are the tonsils, and they essentially form a ring around the nasal cavity and the oral cavity. This, we can see a pharyngeal tonsil, so it's at the origin of the pharynx or the throat. Okay. Here's the uvula, and so on either side of what's called the isthmus, the opening from your oral cavity into your pharynx, we see this tonsil right here, the palatine tonsil, because it's right near your hard and soft palate. Finally, all the way to the posterior side of the tongue, we can see a tonsil called a lingual tonsil, and lingual means tongue. So lingual tonsil, palatine tonsil, pharyngeal tonsil.